all here? Is this good?
The Spoon Fed Podcast. Let's go. Your chance to talk now, Jason.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
This is literally episode 12 or whatever it is, and we're still like,
crushing it.
Yeah, crushing it. That's a good way. Thank you for the positivity, Eli. All right.
When did this happen? I just want to know.
Episode 2.
We quickly learned
Am I blinded
that you're
by
an
it?
easy target. We love you. We love you. Okay, so first of all, I know this is a business podcast, entrepreneurship, whatever. I want to shout out a couple small businesses. Well, just one, and then I think you have one too. But okay, in our town, we have a drop-in daycare, and this was a new concept to me when we moved here, that you can pay by the hour to drop your kids off for them to just play and go to the grocery store, go record a podcast, do whatever you need to do, come back, pick them up. And it's really decent too. It's not too much financially. But anyway, I just want to shout out Need a Break in Spring Hill because they are just a brilliant genius. They help me feel so productive in my life.
They're making this podcast happen.
Yeah. Sponsored by.
Other than they don't sponsor. We sponsor
So
them.
shout out small business. I love people just going after it, you know? So who's your small business shout out?
Well, it's our biscuits today are sponsored by I don't even know what it's called. There's not even a sign outside this place.
Is it that gas station?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I've never been.
Oh man, it's great. The lady, the family that owns it, mainly a lady that owns it, is had it for what she said 30, 40 some years,
35 years, something.
Wow. It doesn't look like much from the outside. It only has 2 pumps, not even a thing over the top. Now it has 1 pump because I think somebody
hit it.
the other. And so, but like inside too, it's just it collected. But it's right. So what I was telling to Hannah, it brings me joy to go to this place because it's a small town little market. It's not going to be anything bigger than that, and they don't care. That's what they want it to be. I think they live in the house right behind it. But it's it's an eclectic piece. Like you can get a biscuit there. You can get.
She makes her biscuits. She makes really unique stuff.
But then she also sells kimchi. And then like sliced ham.
Yeah,
like
I know.
I got kimchi in the car if you want it. If anybody
Kimchi dealing out here.
No, I get it every week for real. It's cucumber kimchi, or she makes traditional kimchi, or she makes pickled radish. Anyways, so she's Korean, so she has those few things that she has in there. But anyways, it's just this eclectic little fun place that has energy and culture and like something you cannot put into a brand.
It's really unique. Like you don't see it anymore, really.
But the depth is its brand.
Right.
You go in there, you'll see pictures of families, people that like shop there, of their kids from like 20 years ago, still on the wall. Like this kind of faded off, you know?
Yeah.
Or pictures of her when she was much younger, when she first like bought it and things. Like, so it's just like this
it's history.
place. It is history. It's historic.
That's cool.
So that's my small business.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Okay. You round it out.
When did we do this segment?
I don't know. I like this segment. Yeah. I mean, we did the donuts and sushi.
We didn't do a shout out.
We've been promoting McDonald's for a while.
Yeah, that's true. Small business.
Yeah,
America's small business.
Can we go through one episode without saying
maybe next time?
Maybe next time. Okay. Well, speaking of small business, we have a very special guest with us today. Very excited to have her. This is Lucia Rios of Twisted for Sugar, Nashville. Okay. We are going to talk all about your business, and I can't wait to do that. But I also want to talk about how we met her and kind of fill our listeners in on really this like divine turn of events, because before we met you, we were scrambling, really. We had this event or this invitation to this Easter party that we were really excited about. And that was like a turning point in our business and our first public, I guess, thing with ice cream. But then we had to like make the event happen. And we were calling all these places to try to get equipment for the event. And then
up to this point, the business we had is just on paper. It's just a business plan. Like there's nothing else behind it.
Right. I mean, we make ice cream in our garage. Like, okay, come on.
Don't say that out loud.
Like
we also have chickens in our
I make podcasts in my garage.
See, we're just making things happen. But so it's not just like, but again, this was our first like public, hey, this is what we're doing, right? So anyway, Jason had the pleasure of meeting you first, and it just was like a chance meeting, right? Like we just gravitated toward her personality, number one, and number two, just her professionalism. And you were so gracious to like help us figure this out. And I don't even think you knew we were like struggling, like trying to figure it out. I think
you guys carry yourself really
we maintain.
Well, so I was like, oh yeah.
Oh, we're letting it all hang out now. We're just exposing ourselves. But that's part of the vulnerability, right? But I just remember, so y'all did an event together. Tell me, kind of fill in the listeners on this, how it kind of happened.
I wasn't prepared for that question.
Well, we had a mutual client.
Yeah.
Yes, there we go. Do you want to? You carry it on.
Well, we had a mutual client, and that's kind of how I got turned on to the radar of what he does.
Yeah.
And then another client had a need for his services, so I was like, can you help me?
Yeah.
Totally. And I think from that moment, I was like, oh, he's a vibe. And, just.
I thought so too.
Yeah. I think
About
when you meet somebody, like, same thing on like social media or on paper, whatever, you might like what they do, but then when you meet in person or work together and you're both trying to accomplish a goal together, you kind of get a good understanding for their spirit and just their work ethic and their intentions without even saying that specifically.
Yeah.
So that's just...
Well, that's what you did so wonderfully, because he was nonstop talking about you. And he was very complimentary, because we meet a lot of people. We have interactions with a lot of different vendors, a lot of different clients. And there was something different about you. You were so willing to just do whatever it took. You had a very servant heart. And
there was depth. It was like the gas station down the road. I mean, for real.
You're way more elegant.
What a nice tie-in. Yeah.
But there was depth there. It was like, it wasn't so transactional. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't just like, I'm going to go get this here's your money. All right, bye, see you later. Like, it wasn't that at all. There was so much more of a handshake and a warm welcome and a willingness to help and a servant heart, just like you said.
Yeah.
So that in itself was like, this is going to work.
Yeah. So y'all did the event together, the first one. And then, so he had shared with you that, or no, I think he knew that you had a cotton candy business or a cart business. And you had offered for us to borrow one. And we had been looking at renting one. I mean, it was just going to be completely not economical at all to just to rent one for like a couple hours. Anyway, you were very gracious. And then you went so far as to like print our signs and put our products on the sign and then do the ice cream letters on it and then got the flowers. Like you went above and beyond, and you didn't owe us anything. And it was just out of the goodness of your heart. So like, that's why I'm just so excited to talk about your business, because that overflows to us. You don't even know us. And like your business, you take very seriously what you do, and you do it in a really elegant way. So I want to talk about your business.
Can you just be my spokesperson?
I'm just going to be your cheerleader over here. Okay.
Yeah, you say it so sweet.
Do we need to exit the room here?
So this is just like me and Lucia right now. So. Just kidding. Okay. So for real now. So your business is called Twisted for Sugar Nashville. But you also you started in California. Okay. So we're going to kind of talk about that, like you moving to Nashville or Tennessee. And then, but talk early stages. Did you grow up like in a house full of entrepreneurs, or was this kind of something that you felt like you might do eventually, or how did that go? So,
no, I didn't ever think I would enter entrepreneurship at all. I think I was raised on one of two paths: education all the way, or get the type of, corporate job that you can retire on and live happily ever after. And although my grandparents were entrepreneurs, that wasn't something that was necessarily encouraged, because there's a lot of struggle with it.
Right.
And I think that in reflection, as a parent now, them being immigrants and having to struggle, like just adapting and coming into America and all that stuff, I think we all try to prevent that. So I think that's why they didn't really encourage that struggle. But yes, when I started in 2016 after my daughter was born, and I don't know if we wanted to kind of touch into that.
Yeah,
aspect.
let's do that. I think because you had, and we talked about this, and share what you feel comfortable to share. But I think for us, it was always like, what was that one thing that really, changed in your life that made you say, okay, this is the only path for me? And I think that you had that same experience too.
Yeah, I think it wasn't like a conscious decision though. I think it was, but to backtrack a little bit, so I had my daughter and I was having a hard time adjusting with like the baby blues and all of that. And it didn't end up settling into baby blues. I got diagnosed with postpartum depression. But I was really, really lucky because I did have a prior birth with a prior experience, and I knew something was different and off and all of that. And I was older, and I had really great healthcare. So I pursued, getting some counseling and all of that. And through that initial part of my mental health journey, I decided I needed to leave my corporate job. Wasn't really sure what I was going to do or why, but I did have my husband's support in being like the only income and all of that. It was just essentially to just get better.
Yeah.
And me growing up, basically like as soon as I could start working and earning an income, I did. So I didn't feel comfortable not having something going on for myself.
Right.
So in my family and in my environment, Southern California, lots of Latinos, lots of us have party rental businesses.
Okay.
I don't know why, but that's just kind of normal where they would do like table rentals, chair rentals, bounce houses, that kind of stuff. So that was the initial interest.
Okay.
Did a lot of Googling, did a lot of Pinterest search, and cotton candy cart kind of popped in on the radar. And I just decided that labor-intensive party rentals was too hard.
I love it. You knew your boundaries.
I was like, I don't want to do that. Like I wanted to, but I was like, that seems hard. And cotton candy just seemed easier, and it was the most affordable to start out because I didn't have a huge like nest egg to invest. And that's really how that started.
Okay, that's what I love so much about this is because, and for us, we've talked about this, that has been such a really hard thing for us to get through is like the financial impact it has on your family to start a business, right?
Yeah.
And the investment and all the things. So we've invested in our own businesses. We've had quite a few up until this point that have failed.
Quite a few.
When I say failed, I always look at Jason and I don't mean to, but
What is this? At least I'm trying.
Okay. Anyways.
This is the segment of the podcast where it's like couples therapy.
I love when people say they failed. I love that because
Well,
have you ever?
You would love me.
I have failed. Girl, I'm failing today. Do you ever seen? You have kids, so have you ever seen Meet the Robinsons on the Disney movie?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you know the part where she says it's through failure you learn, through success not so much.
Yeah. It's the truth.
It's the truth,
It is
and
the
it's
truth.
like changed my fear of failure so much.
Yeah.
A kids Disney movie did that.
Yeah, for sure.
You could be reached at any point, right? Especially if it feels it touches you. And I think for us too, that's why it was important for us to do this podcast is to talk about, we had to fail before and we're still failing. Like yesterday was a really hard day, but it's like we see the path and we don't want to lose the focus, know. And what were we gonna say?
Well, thank you for pausing because it's hard to get in there.
sorry.
If not, because you are rapid fire. That is the hardest part is the start. And it is because your fear of failure. And it is all of those things. It's like, and one, you don't know. You don't know where to go. You don't know how to do it. And like, I'm going to probably fail at it. And because I don't know. And so it's just all those things. And it deters even that first move, that first start. And this was kind of where we started with like, we were thinking podcast because that was our determinment too, like even kind of getting started. And so like we just said, we're just going to jump in like where we can start anywhere.
You still have to have that kind of like, you have that fear, but it's not louder
Gotta have
than
momentum. It's gotta have something
the
to keep-
motivation or dedication, discipline to say, I'm just going to do it. Right.
For sure.
And so that's what you had. Cotton candy wasn't necessarily an area of focus for you or like any kind of prior experience, but you're like, okay, well, it costs the least. It's really cute or whatever, like sold you on the fact that, okay, this is where I'm going to go. Was there anyone doing what you were doing at the time?
Yeah, I think that there were existing companies for a while, but not. So what I always dabbled in sweets. Like I remember baking cupcakes when I was in high school and like for my dance team and stuff like that. And then for like a minute before I had my daughter, I tried cake pops, which are really hard. And I always focused on differentiating, like just being different.
Got it.
That was just kind of like a natural thing for me, to want to be different. So when I seen what was out there and I seen it's cute, but I just wanted it different.
Yeah.
I was like, well, how can I make this my own? What can I do in what areas, whether it's flavors, presentation, even like my name, my logo, like what can it be that's very different, very unique and me? Because I feel like I'm very multi-dimensional. Like I can be very girly. I can be like hard rock. Like I like all the things.
Yeah.
And so I wanted something that had that range. And so initially, just like, the black and white composition books that you get for your kids. Just that was my area to do a business plan, quote unquote business plan.
Wow.
Like I just kind of jotted down ideas. I jotted down how I could make these ideas happen, who might like these ideas, who might hate these ideas, and how I can cater to the two.
You actually wrote who might hate your ideas?
Yeah.
That's cool.
That is really great.
Yeah, well, because
you have to be ready for that.
Initially, I started with a very a high emphasis on the flavor profile, and I'm Latina, so I wanted to focus on Latin flavors. And I figured who would hate that would be people who don't like Latin food or Latin treats or things like that. So I had to create like a different menu type of options that are maybe more aligned with those tastes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone hates us, but
This is my hate page. All these people.
Everybody has haters. Well, I love that. I love that you wanted something, you knew what was important. I think this is something also that we had to really work with is we have to stand out. Like we can't just be, the next guy. And we had, talked about other kind of business things, and it was like doing franchises and opening franchises and stuff. That just didn't feel authentic to us, even though, the business plan was solid and we were getting, our little box of a business that we wanted, but it just didn't feel genuine to us, right? So, okay, talk about that first event. Like if you can, this wasn't in the notes, but I just want to what did that look like for you? Were you super nervous? Like,
yes.
Okay.
I think with anything because the same thing, like for me, I practiced in my kitchen, just kind of you want to make your services look effortless. You don't want people to be like, dang, this girl is struggling. That's not a fun experience to watch.
Right.
So I wanted, a lot of the practicing was like in my kitchen, just kind of like closing. And it was actually my friend that hired me.
Oh, good. Okay.
So it made it a little bit better, but at the same time, like, okay, my friend, she like paid me.
Right.
So I was like, oh my gosh, like she invested in me in this startup and like she's supporting me. It's like, I gotta kill it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where the nerve set in. And I definitely like in the same thing, I had no idea what our presentation was gonna look like necessarily because I was all focused on flavors.
Yeah.
But after like 2 or 3 people, I was like, oh, okay, this is fine.
Yeah.
Because then you start to see people's reaction and you're like, oh, they're happy. They're not like upset or angry or disappointed.
Sure. Yeah. And I think also too in the event business, typically your events are happy things, right? Like celebrations or occasions where people are happy, right? And you want to enhance that that moment or that experience, whatever. So you're a mom. You're also a wife. So kind of talk about how how being a business owner and starting this business has challenged you, but also been really encouraging to help you honor those roles.
That's a long question, a long answer. So as a mom, I think there's a lot of impact in entrepreneurship. I think there's very positive.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of like heaviness on the mom guilt because I think we want to do all the things all the time for everybody, including especially our kids.
Right.
But I think that through the business, I was able to really meet women that were also doing it. So it was by example and by environment, I was able to see and kind of just look forward to a future where I see these women who are also mothers maybe currently pregnant, having kids, being wives, etc., and still having a business and have had their own business or have done multi-businesses or, what have you.
Right.
And so just knowing that it was possible to do both and seeing a variety of what works for this person, what works for that person. Because I don't think there's like a one size fits all or there's like a roadmap. I think it's very individualized. For me, I like to say I learned how to move things from my plates. So like we have a lot of plates going on at all times. Obviously, we want to like equally, like in an ideal world, we want to distribute everything equally. But that's not, for me, realistic.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll be like 2 months all in hardcore. I barely talk to my kids. And then other times I'm like, I am all yours for like 30 days straight. Just don't.
Yeah. I think that is something that I'm definitely more open to. Like I'm
not struggling with the mom part.
Okay. But it definitely is. Other responsibilities and roles in our life have in the past in other businesses been compromised because of we're all or nothing kind of people. Like we are perfectionists, I guess you could say. And so that has sort of hindered us in a way where we feel the mom guilt or we feel the guilt of, okay, we're pushing this forward, but we're really taking some steps back over here, But it is an ebb and flow of, okay, right now we're really trying to push to get this done. This is just a season or this is just a short amount of time. It's not forever. And, like you said, it is encouraging and it makes impact to your kids to say, look, I do wish I had a 9 to 5. And actually I don't. The structure of that is appealing, but the flexibility and versatility that we have in our family and our life provides a lot more fullness for us. And so we try to point that out when we can.
And I think that exampling, although like I said, my grandparents were entrepreneurs. We really weren't exposed to it very much. We weren't aware of what that meant. So I think them seeing, and now my son's older, so he does help us, and we can talk about that in a second. But like them seeing that this is a real option for career choice or future choice. I think that's priceless because the reality is, in like 5 short years, like 70% of the workforce is going to be essentially an entrepreneur, whether it's like a, contractor or whatnot. And I think right now we're in that time of our generation, our lives, that we get to kind of explore that and model that for the next generation. And if they can see the option of 2 versus like only focusing on one road and then being like beating themselves up if that doesn't work out, they have the option of just like, well, I can make this happen because my mom and dad did that.
Right. There's some autonomy and also, I think it's encouraging, right? And that's the whole point of this whole podcast. It's called Spoon-Fed. We weren't spoon-fed how to do this. And I think that kind of correlates with that data point that, because our parents didn't. So why would they, encourage that path if it wasn't one that they've traveled, right?
Girl,
or desired.
You should have seen the looks. I asked my best friend, I asked my mom, I asked my uncle, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, do you want to do this with me? And they're like, cotton candy? You're going to quit? I had a really, really good software corporate job at a great startup company in Irvine. It was amazing. And they were like, to do cotton candy? I'm like, yeah. And they just thought I was insane. And they were, I'm sure, I was an adult, so they're like, you do what you do. But I'm sure in their mind, they're like, this girl is going to crash and burn.
Yeah.
And, obviously years later, it's a different story, but it's not really easy. It's not easy for them because they don't think they never did it or were exposed to it.
Well, go ahead.
That was one of our biggest focus was to make sure we started a family-founded food brand. That's so fun to say. I can keep using F words like no.
Was not.
This is the point where it goes
Start
down.
bleeping things out.
Okay. anyways, we wanted our kids to see us in our highs and our lows. We wanted our kids to be there with us and help with the build of this business. And we wanted them to have the option too, either, to be a part of it and or to, go on their own path. And so the same as you said, that was very inspirational for us to kind of start it. And now I think what we're trying to do as well is that like through those goals, like say that we are like going hard and heavy on these 3 months, like we try to involve them in that hard and heavy and say, hey, like at the end of this, at this goal line, if we all reach there and we all work hard to get to this point, whatever their role may be in that, and maybe their role is just like sit down and shut up. I mean, I will want to, I don't say that to them. Out loud. But yeah, their point is so they get they get to feel like they're part of the contribution of it, and then the reward of it, and so like I love what you said there, like how you're modeling it not only for your kids, but even for others in your family and all those other things too. It's definitely something that inspired us to just choose this path.
Yeah, and as a kid, you hear all this stuff like dream big, don't give up on your dreams, like, and we say those things to our kids. My parents said that to me, but when you actually have to do it, it's really not encouraged until they can see that like, okay, I think you can do it. You know what I mean? Like it really is just a cute little like, oh, feel good thing, follow your dreams. But it's like
follow your dreams, but go corporate.
Right. Like,
oh my gosh.
I mean, trust me, I dream about retirement too. Okay, I am not kidding about that.
Follow your dreams, but go to college.
Well, college, yes. What?
And my dream's not college.
Okay, whatever. But also. Anyway, all that to say, it's like, okay, if we really believe that, then how are we going to encourage the next generation that this is an actual option, and this is the path that I went, this is how we did it, and just share the knowledge. That really is kind of what it all comes down to, right? So I like what you said, the plates, you have different plates. We love like food kind of things. So in that, we have this thing that we like to call the full life framework that we like to think about in our life.
Those F words.
There she goes again.
There she goes again.
Eli, you got a lot of bleeping out to do.
But so our mission for our life, like we've kind of defined what that is. And, our mission statement, we want to feed, get fed, and bear fruit. And it's this cyclical thing. And in a literal way, he's a chef, so we do that.
Amazing chef, BTW.
Yes, he is. He's great.
So obviously that is our vocation. I say our. I mean, whatever.
No, you're part of it.
Okay, I wash the dishes, whatever.
Yeah.
But so obviously we feed others, but then, but in a figurative way, encouraging other people and really helping other people bring to life and bring out what they feel drawn to do. So that's feeding others. And then getting fed is like, what are we doing to be sure that we are continuing to stay in a really, healthy state of mind or focused place? And that was this podcast. It's like, okay, we gotta feed ourselves. Like we gotta feast on everything entrepreneur and network with other people who have followed this path and that we admire, And then the other part of it is the bear fruit part, and that is really enjoying what you've done, right? And I think that's really one of the most attractive parts of being an entrepreneur is that the path there's no ceiling, you can, you kind of get out what you put in, right? But anyway, so all that to say, so who kind of like, fed you, who really encouraged you to like go after this? Or was it that people did it and you were like, oh, I'm going to show you?
Oh my gosh.
That's Hannah energy right there.
My toxic trait.
Same.
If you don't like me, I'm going to make you like me.
Same. That's Hannah energy right there.
Here's some cotton candy.
Yeah. I feel like that's been my vibe since as long as like I was a kid. Mm-hmm. Like if you don't like me, just wait.
Right. Totally.
So that's definitely like my that's just inside of me. Mm-hmm. But I do feel like to talk a little bit about what you were saying of like dream big, but I think part of that was just not having, for me specifically, like I didn't have people in my life that I could point of reference or example success, quote unquote success in a variety of ways. the examples that were given, like public figures of like that they dreamed big and they were successful, were unicorns to me. They weren't really real until I started my business and I started doing a lot of networking events. And one specifically, there was a Latina and women in business networking group in California, because that's where I'm from, where I did meet a lot of women who just was like a whole new breath of air that I never even knew existed, of supportive women. Didn't know me, just like knew I was there. Didn't know my story, didn't know my character, didn't know what morals I had or anything, but they were just like, cool, I'm head of marketing at Google. Do you want to come to Google? I'm like, sure.
Wow.
You know, things like that. Like, and her name was Eliana, by the way, and she's become one of my mentors because she is just like, there's just people that you know are so driven to support you.
Right.
And it's almost like takes some time for you to be like, me? Why me, specifically me? Like anybody?
Right.
Or like me? And I just think that's just God intervening in whatever healing needs to happen within yourself, but also for like solidifying, this is your path. This is where you're supposed to go, because here's somebody who otherwise you wouldn't have thought would be in your path, but now they are. Yeah.
That's so great that you say that, because we've experienced that too. You know, those little affirmations, those little signposts, you know, that kind of help you feel like, okay, we're on the path, you know, and you just get placed with these, you know, people along the way. And you were that for us. You really, really were. And you helped encourage us. So you're sort of feeding us, you know, in a way, to kind of help encourage us, you know, to keep pushing forward, you know? So we kind of talked about how we met. You have a pretty high profile client list. You know, we won't talk about names or anything like that.
Yeah,
but
no name dropping.
Yeah, no, we're not going to do that. But what it does is it adds credibility to what you do. It also adds credibility and validity to your character, because as we've experienced, it's really hard to break into some of these groups, and they don't trust many people. And so once they do trust you, then they kind of sort of pass your name around.
That sounded harsh. They trust people.
Well, yeah, but it's but
I get your point.
Okay.
I was trying to find a way to interject.
Clean it up. No, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Wrong word.
Can you use another F word?
They don't frown a pun.
Fraternize.
Fraternize. There we go. Yeah. It's like when you want to buy a car, right? You know, you want to buy a Volkswagen, and then you like see all the Volkswagens on the road. I'm just hearing all the F words. I'm just like really just pointing them
Your
out.
radar's
I'm
on.
in it right now.
Okay, you're in it. All right. Well, I'm going to be really
conscious,
strategic about this.
Good.
So what has been, all that to say, high profile clients, pretty successful people. Okay. And so what do you feel like you've learned from working with, you know, really successful people, celebrities, that kind of thing? Has it encouraged you that, you know, I am in the right place, or I've made it, or what has that experience been like for you?
I think a couple of answers. I think the surface level, almost superficial level of like making it, that doesn't affect me, because I feel like a lot of people do. I do work with other small businesses and event vendors, and I feel like, especially starting out, that's like the end all be all goal is to work with the celebrity, which is great, but that doesn't mean I made it.
Yeah.
However, it does validate what I'm doing to me, because I feel like they don't know me, they don't know Lucia, they don't know her character, they don't know her intentions. However, on the marketing perspective, or whatever I'm doing up until that point is convincing enough that I'm a trustworthy person.
Right.
I can deliver, you know, quality service. I'm worth the investment, or worth, you know, the money. And then if it's a repeat situation, it's because the experience was good. They trust you. I never take for granted the like intimacy of it, because I think what you were trying to say is like, they are public figures. Their day-to-day life is a lot of, they're like constantly being pulled energetically, like they're constantly being pulled at, they're constantly being asked of things.
Yeah.
And so for us to come in, even just like non-celebrity clients, like regular clients, I never want to be a drain. I feel like we're there to like to put back in. Yeah. So I think moving in that way has made it where it just adds that extra layer of validity in the brand and like what we do, where it's quality, it's a good experience, it's service, and it's what's the word? Confidential, private. I don't know how you say that.
Professional. Yeah, I think,
which is weird because I have a hard time saying those words with the cotton candy business.
Listen, we're in Nashville, okay? There are, you could get a professional Dolly impersonator. You know what I mean? Like, and so I think, but what you do is elegant too. I think that that's also something to mention too. It is really elegant. You customize the stuff. The kids, go crazy for it, but also adults, you put in like champagne and like weddings, and anyway, super fun. But okay, so what has been the biggest thing that surprised you as a business owner about yourself?
Oh, I'm tough AF.
Okay.
I didn't think I was as tough as
Really?
I am.
Okay. Yeah.
And I feel like,
that confidence comes from knowing that knowing what you're capable of, right?
Oh, knowing that like I came out of a mental state that I think, okay, I don't want to get like too emo on this. I came out of a mental place where I didn't know if I would be here physically.
Oh, okay.
And so knowing that was a blip and it's been years and every other moment I haven't really gone back to that, I'm like, oh, I'm tough.
Yeah, right.
Burning fires everywhere, it's fine. I got a fire extinguisher. It's called JC.
Right. Amen. You kind of have to hit one of those moments, I guess, unfortunately, to really know what you're made of. Rock bottom moments, I'm referring to know what you're made of and to celebrate, right? Like that's what this life is about, is being victorious and triumphant and knowing where that comes from, not to get too spiritual about the whole thing, but we know that for sure, and that has definitely helped move us along on our path, is knowing that like, okay, if this business fails or if it whatever, like we know how it ends. Okay, guys, you know what I mean? I think one of the last questions I wanted to kind of ask you is, what's been the most rewarding part? We just talked about, how surprised you've been about how, but like you get to bring your kids into your business. Your husband, is he involved at all? Like, tell me about how that looks as a family unit.
It's definitely become a family affair. I think my husband, I could not do. We work together a lot of the times. He'll even come to events and like run a cart or something with me. But even if not, the back end work, like aside from direct twisted work where it's like carts and labor and painting and whatever, the kids, like we have to really lean on each other heavily. Like when he has a day job. He does his thing there, and I'm like handling it at home. I do my thing. I know he's got it handled at home. Like they're gonna be bathed, they're gonna brush their teeth, they're gonna, have playtime, all those things. So for sure, he's doing his part. I'm doing my part. We do it together. There's sometimes, like we talked about, where the plates have to be like switched up a little bit,
right?
And like the kids, my daughter, she's grew up like this. She grew up just knowing this as mom. So I think it's nice to see her get excited about things. If she'll see me prepping something, she's like, oh, who's having a unicorn party?
Oh, cute.
Who's doing this? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, she's like, oh, I hope they have fun. And I'm like, they're gonna have fun. And also she gets the perks of like, if we want to do a random movie night, like, okay, let's pull out all the things. Let's bring out,
Yeah.
So for her, it's fun. And there's definitely hard times, but she's just growing up differently. And my son has learned to kind of adapt to it, but also he is now like, he helps out, and that's his way of earning his own little income. Is like, well, big, okay, we need you to wash all these things. We need you to like put these things. Can you unload the truck? kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also helping them.
I need to get one of those.
I know.
A teenager?
A kid? We got a couple.
How old's your oldest?
9.
Oh, yeah. She's almost there.
Yeah.
I was afraid I was going to miss that one.
I know. but that's what excites us, right? Like, and also I know that we're going to outgrow this season. I know we're going to outgrow the fact that like our kids think what we do is fun, but we have something to offer, and that's something for so long that like our kids could not feel the fruit of what we were doing, except for the fact that they had a house and they had a car and whatever it is, like the needs were met because of our vocation. But, they have something to offer, ice cream, and my parents, they make ice cream and they think it's fun, so we'll see how long that lasts. But
I mean, how cool is it going to be like when you guys are fully going the next, I don't know, class thing, like, oh, my parents can sponsor the ice cream.
Totally.
I'll get the ice cream guys. Like, that's
Right.
so fun.
Right now we're looking for a food truck. Okay. And so if you know one, just send it our way.
Yeah, okay.
But Hannah's big thing is every time she looks in the food truck, it's like, where's the car seat going to go?
The truth, because you guys, like, there is a practical way that this has to run, okay?
Is
and
there?
he's going to keep his day job. So, that's the only way this business is going to go for now. And, God has really aligned it to be that way, which is totally miraculous. But anyway, all that to say, it's like we chose this path so our kids could be involved, not so we could get a babysitter, and yes, there are
Need a break.
times where,
Need a break.
support local businesses, shout out.
They're gonna be like, "Who's this podcast that keeps referring to?"
Listen, we're going to blow their business
Yeah,
up
yeah.
in a good way.
Wow.
Anyway, so that was the whole point. And so we don't want to compromise, So yeah, at the ones that we've been looking at, and, God would just have it that we saw one this past weekend that had 4 seats in it. So 3,
Wow.
3 seats. And then old Chef Boy, he can ride with us.
Chef boy.
Yeah. I don't have to sit under the sink in the back.
Okay. All right. So a little bit of fun really quick. All right. So ice cream. So that's obviously what we do.
This whole
Let's
thing
talk
is
about
fun.
this. Yeah. Well, I know.
Finally.
But
Fun
Yeah.
time
See,
crew.
finally, fun, family, food. Come on, we can keep going.
so was that like, did you have like an ice cream truck in your neighborhood? Like, do you have any kind of favorite ice cream memories?
It's so funny because I seen this question and I was like talking to my husband about this and what you guys are doing and how we met, and he's like, as I was explaining the food truck situation, you guys' goal, and he was like, oh, are they going to do soft serve? I'm like, I don't know, because that was our favorite type of food truck. So ice cream truck at home. So
Listen
there's
to
2
this.
types, right? Where I grew up. There's actually 4 main food treat trucks. There's
Okay.
like a bread truck for whatever reason.
Okay.
That's not
There's-
fun. They play music too, coming to the neighborhood?
Yes, they did like bread,
Bread? I
milk,
like
egg,
it.
and cheese, like basic stuff. And then there,
Do the moms walk out the door?
100%. And there's like a bodega truck that had like basic, like chips, some sazon, like random stuff
cool.
that if you
It's great.
didn't go to, I don't know why
This
that was
sounds
there.
fun.
Yeah.
I wanna
This is
go.
great. Yeah.
And they had like always had the best chips. So like
man.
that's where we need to get snacks. And then they had 2 ice cream trucks, like the regular package, like Powerpuff Girl ice cream, but then it was a soft serve truck. And that was the best one because they did like the dipped ice cream. They did the sundaes. They did like the flurry kind of thing. And those were elite. That was like
Elite.
the best one.
You hear it. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would not throw down my dollars at the Powerpuff Girl. I would be like,
Yep.
For sure. So exactly. So there are little things that God kind of just like aligns, right? We had an ice cream truck when we first moved here. We never had one growing up. Like they didn't come through our neighborhoods, whatever. We always had to go like travel to this farm to get fresh homemade ice cream, and it was just like a whole thing. But when we moved here, there was an ice cream truck, and it was COVID. But this lady, she would run through, and she had the SpongeBob on a stick.
Let's back up for a second. You made it sound like we lived like on Amish country, like we didn't have a Dairy Queen
yeah,
2 seconds
okay.
down the road. Like, we had to
talking
travel
about-
to a farm. We had to milk a cow. We had to wait a few hours.
Sounds like
for
a
the
good time.
freeze. Yeah, I mean it does. But
Those are our favorite. Okay, talking about favorite ice cream memories.
Okay,
So, anyways, so when we moved here, we had our first experience with an ice cream truck, and she had the SpongeBob on a stick, and I'm like, this lady, $6 for the daggum.
$6?
Yes, for the daggum thing.
Might as well
And
get a pint
Hey,
of Ben and Jerry's or
her-
something.
for real.
she had a nice looking truck. She
Okay.
had to pay that note. I mean, it was a good
cute.
truck. It was a
that
good
paint
truck.
job though.
It was a good paint job too.
Wrap, custom wrap.
Oh man. So anyway, so soft serve is actually. Do you know that that's the path we're going? It's
No.
craft soft serve.
I didn't know. I was like, I don't know. I hope
telling
so
you.
though, because we need an elite soft serve
do.
truck
Yeah.
hanging around.
Craft soft serve. So that's where it's at for us. So that is exactly our business model.
We will not have SpongeBob on a stick.
No.
And by the way,
Unless he's just like an accompaniment or something.
Yeah, cute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kids party.
we
Kids
can
party.
do that.
Yeah.
Or we make our own SpongeBob.
You make your own little SpongeBob mold.
Out of real sponges. Eat that, kid.
Anyway.
Probably healthier for them.
Fiber.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, the soft serve piece is the fun part, I think, and that's where we're excited for. And so, where did we go recently? No.
Yeah.
Small
We can
business.
talk about
We'll
it.
talk about that later.
Small business that we will not endorse.
Can you guys do a collaboration of like cotton candy soft serve ice cream?
Well,
For sure.
so there's a brand that we do follow. Okay, we're not going to throw that one out, but they put all sorts of things with their soft serve. So they're very simple with soft serve. It's beautiful.
It's not a UK brand, is it?
It is UK. Brand.
I know what you're talking about.
and they
it's
put
so
like
cute.
they put like clouds of like
Ooh.
cotton
and
candy
like
on top.
mermaid tails and all kinds of fun
and then sometimes
stuff.
they'll put lights in there, and so it's like a thunderstorm.
Listen,
I love
you
it.
don't know what's coming,
So, yeah.
Eli. You don't know.
So that was the thought. So maybe there's a collab coming down
Yeah.
there, and maybe there's a bigger collab with like some podcast parlor. Hey,
Podcast ice cream.
Podcast
cotton
ice cream.
candy.
Oh, listen. Okay. So, all right. The last question. I was recently on a podcast, so I'm going to shout out the Normal Mamas podcast. They asked me this question, and it was so impactful, and it gave me a chance to really kind of reflect. So that's why I wanted to ask you this. So, what is one piece of advice that you would give your 20-year-old Lucia?
Okay. Can I give two? 'Cause
Yes,
I thought about
please.
this question. One is everything is figure outable.
Okay.
Because I used to just like crumble at the thought of like a problem that I didn't know the answer to. And two, loving Jesus is not corny. And I think that when I was young, I thought it was the corniest thing ever. And now I'm like obsessed.
Yeah.
But
I love that you said that.
Jesus
I really
freak.
did.
Yeah,
That F word.
Oh, hey, no,
No, you're on radar.
Hannah's never heard that song. Have you? You know what I'm talking about?
What?
Yeah,
I know.
and so I had to like play it for her. You know what song I'm talking about? Jesus Freak song.
who's it by?
DC Talk, like the old. What's his name?
So
Toby
what
Mac.
we're going to try
Toby
to say
Mac,
here is
the
that you're
original
old.
Toby Mac.
The original Toby.
The OG
It's like
Toby
classic
Mac.
rock. No,
he's like-
Yeah, when he was in band.
I'm not good at names. I'm good at like if you hear it,
Hearing
I'll be
it,
like,
yeah.
oh yeah, I know that song. I'm not good at names.
Well, no, if you heard this song, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. It screams Jesus Freak the whole time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's really intense.
It's impactful.
Oh, well, I had never heard it. And so Jason was like,
Sorry,
you never heard
I'm
this.
sorry I interjected. Go
No,
ahead.
you're fine.
But I think that that's really true, and I didn't expect for us to get in a theological conversation, but that was a piece of advice that I gave myself at 20 years old, is that read your Bible. And I always have like really wanted like a sense of wisdom, and I want to make impact in people's lives, and I want to encourage people, but I also want to, not fluff things up, and
But you didn't want to do the work.
but I didn't want to do the work. Yeah, exactly. So all that to say, it's not cheesy. It really is just, the only way. It's the only path, right? And so I've really been able to experience a lot of things in a different light from doing that, because this life is hard, and so you got to have what we like to say is the storms are coming. You got to build a bigger boat, better boat, stronger boat.
When did we say that?
Yeah. So I say
It's
all the time.
always.
Oh yeah, we say that all the time.
Yeah.
We said that in the car right over here.
So I like to appear like we have these really in-depth theological conversations, but really I'm just talking to myself.
I know, and I like
And he doesn't listen.
and I like to chirp her back every chance I can.
Oh man. Okay. So Lucia, you have one in California, Twisted for Sugar in California, and then also here in Nashville. So kind of talk about that really quick, where people can find you, book you, that whole thing.
Social media is my bestie. Like it's the best marketing tool that we've had, and we have the most success through. So Instagram, Twisted for Sugar.
Okay.
And for Nashville, Twisted for Sugar Nashville. That's how they can book us. There's links and stuff in the bios, DMs, all that.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you so much for being here, spoon feeding our listeners all the secrets.
Thank you guys. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was
Okay.
fun.
Stay hungry out there.
Have a
Here we
great
go.
day.